The end game of Egghead is truly beginning. Hey everyone, welcome to Princess Gay. I'm your host Connie, and today we are here with my blind reaction to episode 1151 of One Piece. We are really in the end game of this arc now. After last week's little break, we're entering the final set of episodes for this arc. And we know at the beginning of the year, the series is going to be taking a break before it comes back in April, I believe it was said, for the spring season. And next year, they're also only going to do 2 cores worth of the series. And that's going to be the standard going forward. And I've bitched about that enough. Not going to do it again here. Not going to waste your time with that. But the point is, there's not going to be 24 episodes of One Piece each year. Or 26, 24, 26. And that's it. And again, I've said this before. I assume it's going to be the spring and the fall. They're going to have a break in between each one. So it's like you have a season on, a season off, a season on, season off, and so on and so forth. But we'll see if that actually is how it ends up going. There's no real guarantee for that, but I assume it would have to. I don't think they would do it 2 seasons in a row. And if they have it in spring, they would have to have it in fall, that means. Because the winter season starts off the year in January. So they would have to do it that way. Excuse me. But it does kind of suck. We're just going to kind of have to go with it. There's nothing we can really do. And I'm assuming that because of this, though, there won't be any weekly breaks at any point. That with this new setup, it's just going to, for those weeks, for those 12 weeks at a time, 12 or 13 weeks at a time, there's not going to be a single weekly break, I assume, with this new schedule. So there's that. But anyway, just wanted to remind you all that, we're in the last episodes of Egghead because that's part of the entire thing with the break leading into April. That's going to start the Elbaf arc. Egghead ends with 2025. So I'm very curious to see still how they escape the Gorosei. That's still my biggest thing. I keep bringing that up, but it's like, come on. How do you escape the Gorosei? One of them can fucking fly. I assume the robot's going to be involved, even though we saw the robot be, knocked into the sea last episode. It's obviously going to come back. It's obviously, gonna somehow come back out of the sea and probably be the big key to escaping. On top of, the giants and everything. That would be my guess, just based off of, obviousness. And so we'll see how that all goes down. We saw Vice Admiral Dowell punch a giant, specifically Kashi, last episode. And presumably because of the fact that she had, served under Saul and everything in the past, I'm presuming that that's how she knows how to fight a giant, and how she's honed her strength specifically to do so. I don't know if it'll directly tell us that, or if it's one of... Excuse me, sorry about that. If it's one of those things that we're just supposed to get from the context clues. I don't know, but it seems pretty obvious either way. And on top of that, we're just having to deal with kind of everything going on. And between the vice admirals, between the Gorosei, between everything. I guess technically Kizaru, if he gets back up, trying to keep going is going to be difficult. But we know Luffy's like almost there. He's on his way. We also are hearing more and more about, like, you know, everything that went on in the past, about Joy Boy and the Void Century and everything. And so we get more and more info about that each week, it seems, at this point. I don't know how much more we're going to get, but I'm very curious to see. The problem is that because the transponder snail that's relaying the message was in the robot, that was interrupted when the robot was knocked into the sea. But I think I said this last time. I'm assuming it'll restart, or probably not from the beginning, of course, but you know, it'll resume play once the robot comes back out, right? That would be my guess. It might skip a little bit. We might it was about to reveal information. Vegapunk was about to reveal information about the Will of D, but I assume we're not getting that yet. That just feels like something that we have to wait a little bit more on. So I feel like they're going to tease us with that, but not actually give us anything yet. But other than that, I don't know what to expect. I stay away from spoilers as much as I can. And as I've said in the past, while I do know of some things, I don't know everything, and I don't know context for the things that I do know. Because I usually just see out of context, posts on Twitter when I am spoiled. But I'm not even as active on Twitter as I used to be anymore, because I kind of switched mostly over to Blue Sky. So I'm not even seeing as much as I used to. But I do still occasionally see some stuff. And so, as I always just say, no spoilers, just keep it safe. Because again, even if I know something, I don't know the context behind it. I don't know what everything means. So I think we should just get into this and see what this episode has in store for us. So let's do so. Hold up just a sec. Before you click that link down in the description below to get to today's video, I want to remind you of all the awesome content we have both on this channel and the Princess of Gaming channel. Let's check it out. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. I mean, logically speaking, I can see why, Toei took a break before this episode. I don't think they needed to by any means. I don't think it was a necessary thing. I think it was more like a build-up kind of thing. It's one of those times where they took the break specifically to build up the hype for this next episode. And this only goes to prove my point that binging fucking sucks and that you need to wait. That you need to have time between episodes to build up that hype, that excitement, that, level of interest. This episode would not have been as good. It still would have been phenomenal. It would not have been as good, though, if it were released in the same week and watched at the same time as the previous episode. Having those couple weeks in between helped it because it helps build up the anticipation, the excitement for the next episode. And then once it actually hits and you get to see all this crazy shit, you get to fucking hear the voice of Joy Boy. You get to see Bonnie as Nika. It's like, this shit hits because we've been waiting for a couple weeks. This shit hits so hard because of that anticipation. That's what made this work so well. And this has happened a couple times throughout the series, but especially recently. They've done this a couple times where it's like, oh, we're going to take a sudden unexplained break. And I'm upset about it for obvious reasons, but then it comes back from the break and it's like, oh, well, no, the break was worth it. It made it better. It's like almost every time this happens. And I think this time I was mostly irritated over the break happening because they just announced that starting in January there's going to be another big break until April. And it's just like you just announced there's going to be this big break. Why take a week off now? And apparently, like, this is the reason. Because they wanted to build us up for this. And I looked up because I was just randomly curious who Joy Boy's voice actor was. I don't usually look up voice actors for a lot of Japanese anime. I look up voice actors for a lot of like Western animation, but not so much Japanese stuff. Because most of the time I don't know, like, names, you know what I mean? So I'd have to look up other roles they did anyway. But apparently, Joy Boy's VA, I guess this was actually, like, announced and made a big deal of prior to the episode airing. Joy Boy's VA was the original voice of Luffy. And I mean the voice actor who played Luffy in the original 90s OVA, before this main series by Toei started. Which I think we reacted to the OVA. It was the Pirate Ganzak one? I think we reacted to that. But, yeah, Luffy's voice actor in that was different. And that's the voice actor who is now portraying Joy Boy, which I think is just, like, beautifully fitting. Because you have, you know, the connection with Luffy, but also the idea of, like, the past. Like, this was, like, a almost past incarnation of Luffy. And so, like, that kind of also connects to, like, the idea of the Will of D and Joy Boy and stuff. And it's just, like, that's, like, weirdly thematically fitting. Like, aggressively thematically fitting. And so I really, really enjoyed that. I thought that was like a really fun idea. But yeah. Let me see if I can find the name real quick. Because I had it up, but I don't have it up anymore. Urara Takano. That's the name. And yeah, this was apparently like a big thing that was like talked about prior to the episode releasing. But because I avoid spoilers like the plague as best I can, I didn't know about this. So that's really cool. And it's a good thing I didn't, because that would have revealed that Joy Boy spoke in the episode. I'm actually glad I didn't know that. But yeah, 27 years ago, she voiced Luffy in the OVA. It was only one time. That's insane. Ah, that's so good, though. That's like such a genuinely good casting choice. I genuinely kind of wonder, like, how did they decide to do that? Like, what was the motivation? Like, when did they think of that? I know how it works in, like, again, thematically, but like, did they just like always have that idea in mind to bring her back for this? Or was that something they kind of decided last minute? Either way, it was a brilliant idea. Um, and on top of that, we have the robot's name, Emmett. Which, I mean, I guess that's a good name for a robot. I don't have any strong feelings on that, but sure. Um, so that's really interesting, though. I figured that the robot, that Emmett, would have a massive part to play in helping them escape, but I mean, he can't fight at all the Gorosei at once, so it was a matter of like, how do we handle that? And I guess we got one answer here, because Luffy launched Mars far enough away to where he won't be able to get back in time. So there's that, and then Emmett took care of defending against Warkiri. It's just, it's so wild. Because like he comes up and he does he does the manga punch. I don't know what else to call it, but it's like that's now I we have not seen that a lot in this series, but every time that happens, it's such a big deal. Think about that. I think the first time we saw it was at Shabandi when Luffy punched Charlos. The second time, unless I'm forgetting about something, was in this arc. It was that far between. Because I believe the second time, again, unless I'm forgetting something, was when Kuma punched Saturn. And now in this same arc, we get another one with Emmett punching Warkiri. Like, that's like one of the most hype things an anime can do. Like removing the color, removing detail work, and having it just be like the line art, like the erratic line art with the like cool punch. It's like, what the fuck? And I'm not complaining. Like, I know there's some people out there who would bitch about this kind of thing, like, oh, you're making it less cool when you just have it happen constantly. It's like, shut up. Shut up. Don't take away people's fun. Let people have fun. But yeah, this is pretty crazy. And of course we have Nika, Bonnie, and Kuma seeing that, and it's like, Jesus, that got me pretty hard. That made me cry. Specifically, Kuma seeing it like really broke me, because it's like I believe I was already like tearing up and crying, like just from Bonnie becoming Nika. I think this is something that I predicted she could be able to do, if I'm remembering right. I believe I said something like in one of the earlier episodes when it was like revealing how her powers worked, that she could like copy pretty much anybody's devil fruit. I believe I mentioned the likes of Ace, but I believe I also mentioned Luffy. I think. If I didn't mention it out loud, I was at least thinking it. But yeah, it's like her devil fruit has the ability to manifest any possible future. And realistically speaking, the possibility of a future where she gains any devil fruit, any other devil fruit, technically could happen. So, like, yeah, reasonably she could harness the powers of Nika through through the Hito Hito no Mi model Nika. It just tracks. It makes sense. And it's like, I wish it was longer. That's kind of my only complaint. Is that it feels like lately in the anime in general they've been rushing through things, and I think it kind of goes in line with what they've been trying to do and are going to be doing with the new scheduling starting with the Elbaf arc. This entire idea of trying to like match the pacing better to the manga, and it's just like it's clearly a bit rushed, and it shows. I mean, I really feel like the Nika Bonnie thing, for as important it was, as much as it was like, worked up to throughout like the entire arc, and then on top of it, like even the episode being named after it, I feel like it should have lasted longer. And I understand something like that is going to take a lot out of Bonnie, like in terms of how her power does drain her quite readily. It makes sense that it wouldn't be able to last long. But it still feels like... Excuse me. It still feels like it could have lasted at least until the end of the episode. It feels like it just ended a little bit too early. But maybe that's just me. Maybe that's just me. I like Bonnie turning the vice admirals into kids. Just kind of takes them out of the equation. We also see other cool things in this episode, like the giants dancing by the fire on the ship, kind of reminiscent of everyone dancing around the fire at Skypiea. Which, again, as I mentioned in the reaction, is the first place we saw the Nika pose. It was a little bit of a hint there at things to come, even if at the time unintentional. Because Oda was not planning that far ahead. That was definitely something that he figured out later. But yeah, he's shown just how he can take things from past arcs and whatnot and recontextualize them, and it's great. It's wonderful. I really love the constant hype and excitement this episode. It was just like one big moment after another, and was just, really fun and exciting. It really, really worked. And I'm very excited to see what more happens now, because like I said at the beginning, we're in the end game of this arc. So we basically just have to be wrapping things up, which kind of comes down to Escape. There's only a few more episodes left in Egghead at this point, because we're finishing by the end of the year, but I don't think we're gonna go until the end of the year. I assume we're gonna be done before Christmas. So probably only a few more episodes left, and I'm very curious to see what else happens, what other characters we might end up seeing from previous arcs and stuff. I'm very, very interested to close this out. And I'm gonna say right now, I don't know. I think I might have mentioned this before. I don't know what I'm doing in terms of this kind of slot afterwards right now. I'm thinking up some things, and I'll probably announce by the end of the year what I am gonna do starting in January and stuff, in terms of that and other scheduling stuff. But for the time being, for now, I'm not 100%. So we're just going to kind of have to wait and see. But yeah, I will keep you updated. I will say by the end of the year, because I want you guys to know what you're going to be coming back into for 2026. So, excuse me. So yeah, fantastic episode. Just really blew me away on a number of levels. Surprised me on a number of levels. And I'm excited to see like what more we get to close this out. So thank you so much for tuning in. Let me know your thoughts on this episode and the fun stuff that happened within. And for now, I'm Connie and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.